What's going on, Buck Nation? I'm Chase Beckham here with CSU Athletics. Today we've got the second edition of the Nimley Coaches Show. Coach, how are we doing?
Good.
Good. Glad to have you back. Whenever I was writing down these questions and thinking about how this episode was going to go, I said, I really hope Monday night goes well. I said, because that may turn the energy in the room a little bit. So I'm glad that we took care of it last night at the Citadel. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I feel good. Obviously, always great to get a win. It's hard to win in divisional basketball. It's hard to win on the road. We're proud of our guys, the way we fought, being down early, flipping that thing a little bit, and then persevering to the end. So just feeling good, and just trying to continue moving.
Gotcha. Well, I want to get the elephant out of the room first, and this elephant wears the number 11. So Bryson, obviously last night, 42 points, 11 rebounds, 8 assists. I don't know if I've texted you this yet or not. I stayed up for a couple hours last night doing a lot of numerical research, and Bryson is the first player in the history of D1 basketball to have that amount of volume and all those stats in a single game. There's been one other player with a 40-point double-double, and that was Caitlin Clark, like 2 years ago, and she didn't have 42. She had 40. So when I told Bryson that this morning, I'm sure he had already been through a lot of emotions, but then when I saw him, it was just another big rock on the pile of stuff that surprised him. So with that being said, with a stat line posted like that, that's never been recorded in college basketball. As you're seeing his shots go in last night, all right, obviously you're not expressing it, but in the back of your mind, is there a thought of this guy's having a different type of night like I've never seen?
Yeah, in the first half, I'll be honest with you, I didn't notice it until I looked at one of those stat sheets.
Yep.
And we were like going into the Lincoln Ford media in the first half, and he had like 23 points, and I was like, whoa.
Yep.
This cast, he's had the line ones.
Yep.
And, he continued the hot shooting, and, he's a confident kid, he's talented. He mixed talent with confidence, and our style of play really fits him. But I was just proud of the way that he got to it, right?
Exactly.
Like, it wasn't, I don't think anything was forced, to be honest with you. And we talk about that a lot. We talk about playing the game the right way, letting that thing come to you. And I think that dude got a 40 ball, and then when it came to him.
Yeah. That's the first thing I said to him walking into the post-game press conference. I said, Bryce, my favorite thing about what you just did is I don't think you did one thing out of system.
Right.
So that's something that's just commendable to you and your staff, especially offensively. I don't think anybody knows or has seen more CSU basketball in the past decade and a half than you have. When you see that performance last night, obviously you mentioned it in the post-game press conference about how impressive it was, but when you see how Bryson has performed in the first 3 games of this season, have you started to maybe compare him into that upper echelon of CSU basketball players that you've been around? Not saying that he ranks with them as of right now, but is the potential for him to go up that list becoming more real to you?
Yeah, the talent's there. That's undeniable. The kid has, he has a lot of talent. Many of these kids that I've coached, that I've recruited, he's right up there with them. And, only time will tell, where he puts himself within that list. But when you talk about just sheer talent, ability to make shots, ability to dribble, make plays for others, he's up there with some of the greats that we've had for sure.
For sure. Next one I've got for you. You've mentioned in our previous episode that Bryson's discipline is what's going to determine how much of his potential that he sees. Since our first conversation, how are you feeling about that decision making and his level of execution?
Yeah, I think it's been a little better. I'm always going to stay on him.
Yeah.
That's kind of the reality of being in a relationship, is where I'm always going to try to keep that kid on edge, because he's best when he's on edge. He's best when he's not comfortable. So he has to continue to grow. He can't. That game isn't the end all be all. We're trying to win a championship here. We have a lot of team goals that are more important than individual goals, and he really understands that. And he's bought into that, and I really appreciate him. But he just has to keep working. He has to keep his head down. He has to stay home. He has to play with humility.
Gotcha. Touching one more time on that decision-making kind of formula and process after the Virginia Tech game, you said that Bryson took some shots that he probably should have let down there. But then you kind of, not rebutted or rephrased it, but you said some of those tough shots we want him to take. He needs to take. You have the term in your team called hunting greens, where you're trying to find the best available shot, however far is the shot clock, you have to go to find it. What does the process look like to obtain that formula of what's a yellow that Bryson should take? What's a shot that you may not recommend to everybody, but you're not going to be mad if he takes it versus another play?
Well, I think you just got to be transparent, right? Like you have to be honest and transparent with your team and individuals of what is a green. All greens aren't made the same,
Yep.
right? Someone's green is someone's yellow. And some of Bryson's greens are some people's yellows, some people's yellows, or some people's reds. And we're very transparent with him about what his greens are and what he's allowed to shoot. We're transparent with the rest of our roster about what their greens are and what it is that we want to see. So that's kind of our process in there. It's always about transparency. And we always just try to give those guys the opportunity to prove what they can shoot. And then once we have enough data, we'll make a decision on what it is that we're going to want them to shoot when it comes to the time.
Gotcha. Essentially, my favorite part about your team this year has nothing to do with the home court talent. It's all, and for me, it comes down to how genuinely they celebrate each other. Bryson scores 42 points last night, and every player from Alon Sumler to a freshman was jumping up and down in that locker room and on that bench like they had 40. And I think that's my favorite part of your team. You can talk about how you and your staff tried to identify character guys like that, but just tell me, as a coach, how does it make you feel when you see that amount of selflessness in your locker room?
Man, it's a great feeling. It's a great feeling. You always want kids that are happy for others. We always talk about 25 strong, about how everybody really matters in this program, and everybody's role is the same from me all the way down to Cade, as our manager.
Yeah.
And nobody's more important than the next. And we want guys to feel needed, we want guys to feel wanted. We make an effort to do that. So just seeing them celebrating last night, knowing some of the hard coaching that he gets, a lot of times from me, from Coach Allen. It's good to see that smile on his face. It's been good to see a lot of that adversity finally pay off for him.
I think that was probably one of my not favorite parts, but it added to the substance of how cool of a moment was that yesterday. See, I've seen some of those practice moments you talk about. I remember when Bryson came on his official visit, and just kind of knowing that journey. Obviously people see the 42 points and new kid, he's got a smile on his face. But yeah, that substance that you talk about, just knowing what goes on behind those doors made that really special. Let's touch on a piece of the Citadel game plan. The Citadel shot, I believe it was 85 threes in their first two games of the regular season. Last night you hold them to 20. Now I know you probably wanted that number to be a little bit less if possible. They got 11 up in the first half, made a couple of them. How was it them being a three-point shooting team and liking to guard the three, and us being a three-point shooting team and liking to guard the three? How did we come out victorious and still getting our shots up that we wanted to get up to for the most part?
Yeah, I think we just have a specific defensive system that's kind of proven the last year and a half that we're good at limiting attempts from the three. Now they made eight of them at 40%. But credit to them, man, they made 3 or 4 of them that were heavily contested. So when you go back and you watch the film, man, you have to be okay with those because those go in at 29% usually against us. And they win it at 40. So there was a couple of mistakes that we made that allowed them to get to 20. We probably want to keep that number even a little bit more than 20. But all in all, I think we did a good enough job to keep them from shooting the shots that they wanted to shoot.
Sure. Now, although we hold them to 23 pointers, which is obviously less than they like to take, they still score 86 points. But a stat that I noticed and I'm a big fan of is with those 86 points, we scored 96. So kind of a close scoring margin, in the grand scheme of things. They had 9 assists. We had 24 assists. Last year, we averaged 11. Right? We've got 20 in, I believe, all 3 games this year. Right. Kind of talk about how excited you are to see the ball flying around at that high of a level this early in the season.
Yeah, again, it's the type of team that we have, the type of kids that we have. They're ball into ball movement. Just like the types of shots that we go out there and take. We had to make sure the shot profiles kind of fit what it is that we want to do. We also look at the assist rates. We look at turnover percentages. We look at assist to turnovers. And we had to make sure that fit also. We have a lot of guys, if you really go look at their, what they've done in their careers, they've been, maybe not high assist guys, but these are a bunch of little turnover guys. We got a couple of high assist guys also. So all in all, they're bought into ball movement. And we still have to remind them at times because, again, we have some really individually talented kids on our team. And what most kids usually resort to is their talent, and what I'm trying to get them to always buy into is the system. And the system is going to find the grades, and we're going to continue to hunt those.
For sure. Last Citadel question that I've got for you. Obviously, last year when I was with you guys, the biggest win commercially was definitely over Miami. This year, when you beat a team like the Citadel, describe it may not jump off the page when somebody sees Citadel versus a Miami win, but talk about how different the substance of that W is after the game.
Yeah, I think there's just you can go beat Miami, go beat an ACC school, but there's a sense of pride in Charleston,
Yeah.
right? Like this was a game from the city of Charleston. The news outlets are there. There's people from around the town. There's high school coaches there. Like that is a battle of the two, small and major schools.
Yeah.
And in Charleston area, this community takes it seriously. So being able to play in an environment like that was a great environment, and be able to come out and win and play as well as we did. It's great importance to it. Our AD. It's just good for our university. Our president, it's just good when we can have that competition, but also come out on top against a senior rival.
Absolutely. I don't know if you know this. We're now 3-0 against the Citadel this school year. Volleyball beat them, soccer beat them, now wins basketball. So I don't know if baseball or softball plays the Citadel, but I have a graphic in my works right now.
I'm glad that we didn't miss that.
For sure. I wasn't going to tell you that one unless we got the win, but I knew I wanted to mention it today. Okay, so we're done with the Citadel questions. I've got one more kind of a rear view mirror. In the first 2 wins of the season, your player of the game choices were Luke Williams and Bryson Nimley. Both of them were the leading scorers in those games, but I know scoring is not at all the leading category that you look at when picking that award. Tell me what Bryson and Luke did in those respective games specifically that's got them the nod for that award, despite scoring the most points.
Yeah, they ended up scoring the most, but again, I think that those guys, they played the game the right way. They did what the game told them to do in almost every situation, and because of that, they were highly successful. So, you don't owe, like for us, that chain doesn't go to the guys that score the most points, but sometimes those guys that are your bucket getters, they do get to be rewarded for the heavy labor that they do out there.
Gotcha. All right, now looking to where we're going. We're going to the Bulldog Bash and Alabama A&M in Huntsville, leaving tomorrow. Tell me in that first game when we play Alabama A&M in their home gym, 8 o'clock Eastern time, what about their personnel is unique from the first 3 teams that we've seen so far?
Yeah, they're really talented. They got some. They got 2 guards that are all conference guys in the SWAC. They got length all over the place. They got a bunch of kids that's 6'7". They got a couple, 6'10" kids. Their length and athleticism jumped off the page. Their ability to play one-on-one jumps off the page. And their ability to throw it to a guy and have him just go get one. Right. So I think that game's really going to come down to discipline. If we can be disciplined on both sides of the ball, hopefully force them into doing some things that we want them to do on their own offense, and if we can be disciplined enough and patient enough to wait for a green, I think we can be successful in that game, but we have to do those things now.
Gotcha. Obviously, A&M has a unique roster in a way where they've got a lot of transfers on paper, but a specific group of these transfers is not your typical. They've got a new head coach this year that came from Grambling State, and they have 6 guys that have transferred from Grambling to now A&M. Kind of talk about I don't know if you call it an advantage or just how unique that is and how valuable that is to, in your first year as a head coach at A&M, for Coach Jackson to have 6 guys that may not know the system he's running now, but they know him.
Yeah, essentially he has 6 returners. Yeah. And you might be at a new school, but you got the same kids that understand you and understand your system. Obviously credit to him for those kids who want to continue to play for him, right? That means a lot that they will follow him from Grambling to Alabama A&M. So that's, again, it's an advantage, but you still got to play the game. You still got to compete. I'm looking forward to that battle Thursday.
Gotcha. An interesting story that I have to pull out just because it's so unique in small world mid-major basketball is A&M has a player that used to play here at Charleston Southern. Lou Hutchinson, who was at Rhode Island and here and then Grambling. So it was 4 schools in 4 years, I believe. Out of Lou and his new teammates at Alabama A&M, which specific player do you think poses the biggest threat to us, either offensively or defensively?
Well, they got a few. I would have to say is one of the guards, probably the Dozier kid.
Was it
Tavius Dozier? Also that kid. I think he's around 15 points a game. We got him on our board as a score, right? Usually these guys are some shooters straight up. Ron does, but like he's a scorer. I'm just trying to get them to our guys. Like I wouldn't call him a shooter, I wouldn't call him a driver, but like the kid just scored the ball, and when he sees it go in, that thing starts to open up for him. So we got to be really aware of him. They're coming off of a tough loss on the road at Indiana. Like they're going to be playing for something in their gym. We have to be ready to go.
Moving on to Lindenwood, the Iowa Valley team, I think they were picked 5th in their preseason poll, which obviously, that's kind of throwing darts with the amount of turnover this time of year. We've never faced Lindenwood. So it's, is there any type of different approach, or what is the approach whenever you're facing a program that you and your staff may not have a base knowledge of from previous years?
Well, you just try to watch as much film as you can. When we scheduled that game, I went back and watched 3 or 4 games from last year.
Yes.
And then leading up to this game on Friday, I've watched all the games that they played so far. So just kind of getting the feel of, hey, were they doing something different last year? Did they change? Or are they kind of consistent with what they do and kind of understanding what it is that they're trying to get to in the offensive end, what it is they're trying to create defensively. So just trying to get a great understanding of what it is that they have the same coach. What are they trying to do? What are they trying to get to? And I think, if we can watch the film, we'll slowly start to figure that out.
Gotcha. Well, speaking of watching film and preparing for a MTE, multi-team event, as they call it, when you're playing on these back-to-back days, Thursday and Friday, you're not having the same gap of time to prepare for a new scout. Is the process more of we're just going to throw all our stuff together and we're just going to prepare for both at the same time, or is it primarily towards the first team? What's that kind of process look like?
Yeah, so essentially for us, like we kind of want to treat this like the conference tournament. It's kind of our practice run at the conference tournament.
Gotcha.
You don't know who you're going to play next. So you have a scout ready, but you don't present that to your team until you got to handle the first one.
Gotcha.
Or else there's not going to be a second one. So we want to go into this thing and we treat every game like it's we call it the biggest game of the year is the next one. And so we haven't talked about Lindenwood. I don't know if they know we have Lindenwood after Alabama.
Right.
But right now, all we're focused on is trying to put together a great game plan and execute a great game plan against Alabama.
Perfect. Lindenwood currently has 4 guards that are averaging double figures in the scoring column. As a coach that has a revolving door of offensively capable guards, how do you approach a team like Lindenwood that kind of mirrors your guard scoring depth?
We got to make it hard on them. I think what we do defensively, usually we're able to make it hard on guards that do want to score. We got to stay true to who we are. We got to stay true to our principles. We got to be disciplined. We got to contest shots. We got to go in there. We got to work. I think one advantage that we will have, even though it will be a back-to-back, we would have played in that gym once already. And always, to me personally, I always feel like that's an advantage. We already have felt that gym out. We've already got some shots that played live. That'll be the first game, so hopefully we can use that a little bit. Hopefully get to the start.
Perfect. I'm going to take it away from the MTE and basketball court a little bit for the last question. Last Thursday against Tacoma Falls, home opener, you got a victory, first one of the new year. Same Buccaneer blue uniforms, same buck dome you've seen for plenty of years. There was one extra person in the gym that was cheering for you and getting to watch you coach and get a win this year. How did it feel? I don't know if you looked over your shoulder in the game or whatever you do in the game, but how did it feel knowing that your son this year got to see you get a win this year?
Yeah, it feels good. He was actually at the Civil game yesterday too,
Yep.
So came over with me.
So this year's 2-0.
He's 2-0.
Yep.
He's 2-0. I told him that last night. We're winning because he's around. So
There we go.
but it's been great. Just watching him grow. Having him be as involved as he can, obviously at this stage with basketball, it's just a great feeling. It's just grateful. Really, just grateful to be in the position that I am to allow my family to be able to experience what he's done.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate you, Coach. Guys, make sure you keep tabs on the Bulldog Bash that we're headed to this Thursday and Friday. Keep up with us on CSU_MB ball. Just look up Charleston Southern men's basketball and you'll find our stuff. To keep up with everything that we've got going on, Coach, I appreciate you again. Looking forward to the rest of the season with you. And don't forget, go Bucks.